The wind howled through the dusty streets of Willow Creek as Abigail Foster clutched her shawl tightly around her thin shoulders, each step toward the barbershop feeling heavier than the last. It was 1878, and the Colorado Territory had seen better days. So had she. Abigail's once vibrant auburn hair hung in a thick braid down her back, reaching past her waist. It was her pride, her mother's legacy, and today, it would be her sacrifice. Her father's consumption had worsened through the bitter winter, and the medicine from back east cost more than their small homestead could yield in a season. The brass bell above Mr. Holloway's barbershop door jangled as she entered. The scent of bay rum and tobacco filled her nostrils. 3 men looked up Mr. Holloway with scissors in hand, an elderly patron in the chair, and a tall stranger leaning against the far wall. "Miss Foster," Mr. Holloway nodded, surprise evident in his voice. Ladies rarely entered his establishment. "What brings you here today?" Abigail swallowed hard, her fingers unconsciously reaching for her braid. "I've come to sell my hair, Mr. Holloway. I understand there's good money to be had for quality hair back east. For wigs and such." The elderly man in the chair twisted to look at her, while Mr. Holloway's eyebrows rose nearly to his hairline. "Well now, that's true enough. But Miss Foster, your father—" "My father is the reason I'm here," she interrupted, struggling to keep her voice steady. "The doctor says he needs the medicine from Denver. It costs $20, and we haven't got it." Mr. Holloway's face softened with understanding. The town knew of Thomas Foster's condition. Once the most respected carpenter in 3 counties, he'd been bedridden for months now. "I could give you 15 for it," he said gently. "It's fine hair, but business hasn't been good this winter." Abigail's heart sank. 15 wouldn't be enough for the medicine and the stage fare to Denver. She'd have to walk 30 miles in spring mud. "Sir, please. I need 20 at least." The stranger in the corner straightened. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a weather-beaten face that spoke of long days under the sun. His eyes, a startling clear blue, fixed on Abigail with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Mr. Holloway," the man said, his voice deep and measured, "I'll pay the $20 for the lady's hair." Abigail turned, surprised. "Sir, I don't require charity. I'm selling something of value." The stranger stepped forward, and she noticed his clothing, not the flashy garb of a gambler, nor the threadbare wear of a drifter. His quality wool coat and well-kept hat marked him as a man of means, though the trail dust and worn boots spoke of hard work. "Name's Liam Xavier, madam. New ranch foreman at the Broken Arrow." He tipped his hat slightly. "And I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a different arrangement." Mr. Holloway cleared his throat awkwardly. "Perhaps I should finish Mr. Miller's trim while you two discuss your arrangement." Liam Xavier shook his head. "No need for that talk, Mr. Holloway. I'm simply saying the lady doesn't need to sell her hair." He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a leather wallet, from which he extracted a $20 gold piece. He placed it on the counter with a decisive clink. "Your beauty is not for sale, Miss Foster," he said quietly. "Not today, not ever. Your father needs medicine, and I'm in a position to help. Consider it an advance." "An advance on what, Mr. Xavier?" Abigail asked, her voice suddenly sharp with suspicion. She'd heard of men offering help to desperate women before. "On carpentry work," he replied evenly. "The Broken Arrow needs new bunkhouses built before summer brings more hands. Your father's reputation speaks for itself. When he recovers, and he will recover, I hope he'll consider taking on the job. If not, you can work it off cooking for the hands when roundup comes." Abigail stared at the gold piece gleaming on the counter. Pride warred with desperation inside her. "Why would you do this? You don't know me or my father." Liam Xavier's weathered face softened slightly. "I knew a girl once who sold her hair for her family. She cried for months after. Some things, once gone, can't be replaced easily." His eyes held hers steadily. "Take the money, Miss Foster. Get your father's medicine. Before she could respond, the door burst open, admitting Dr. Elliot, his medical bag clutched tightly in his hand. Abigail. Thank heavens I found you. Your father's taken a turn. I've given him what I could, but he needs that medicine from Denver and soon. Abigail's hand flew to her mouth, tears springing to her eyes. Without another word, she snatched the gold piece from the counter. Thank you, Mr. Xavier, she whispered. I accept your terms. As she rushed out behind the doctor, Liam called after her. I'll be by tomorrow to check on him. True to his word, Liam appeared at the Foster homestead the following afternoon. Abigail had returned late the previous night on the evening stage, the precious medicine secured in her carpet bag. She'd administered the first dose immediately, under Dr. Elliot's supervision. She answered Liam's knock with exhaustion etched into her face, her hair hastily braided and tucked beneath a simple cap. Mr. Xavier, she acknowledged, stepping aside to let him enter the modest cabin. Miss Foster, he nodded, removing his hat. How is your father today? Resting. The doctor says the medicine should help within a week or so. She gestured toward the small kitchen table. Would you care for some coffee? It's the least I can offer. As she busied herself with the coffee pot, Liam took in the cabin's interior. Despite its simplicity, it bore the unmistakable signs of Thomas Foster's craftsmanship: beautifully joined cabinets, a rocking chair with intricate carvings, and a mantelpiece that would have graced any fine home back east. You have a beautiful home, he said quietly. Abigail smiled faintly as she set the steaming cup before him. Father built most of it with his own hands. Before he fell ill. I meant what I said yesterday about the work at the ranch, Liam said, warming his hands around the cup. No rush, of course. Your father's health comes first. Why are you really doing this, Mr. Xavier? Abigail asked suddenly. The truth, if you please. We're not charity cases. Liam considered her for a long moment. My sister had hair like yours, same color, same length. When our parents died of cholera back in '65, she sold it to buy food for us. I was 14, she was 18. I promised myself then that if I ever could prevent another woman from making that sacrifice, I would. Your sister, Abigail said softly. What happened to her? A shadow crossed Liam's face. She married a good man in Kansas City. Has 3 children now. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I send what I can. Something in his tone told Abigail there was more to the story, but she didn't press. Everyone in the West carried secrets, carried pain. Thank you for your honesty, she said, and for your help. They talked for nearly an hour about the ranch, about the town, about the changing territory. Liam was surprisingly well-spoken for a ranch foreman, and Abigail found herself relaxing in his company. When Thomas Foster's coughing echoed from the back bedroom, Abigail immediately rose. I should tend to father, she said apologetically. Liam stood, placing his hat back on his head. Of course. I've taken enough of your time. He hesitated at the door. I'll return in a few days, if that's acceptable. Abigail nodded, surprised at how much she looked forward to it. Over the next weeks, Liam Xavier became a regular visitor at the Foster homestead. He brought supplies from town, helped with the heavier chores, and spent hours talking with Thomas as the older man slowly regained his strength. Spring turned the Colorado landscape from brown to green, and Thomas Foster began to venture outside again, first just to sit on the porch, then to walk the property, and finally to spend time in his small workshop behind the house. One evening in late April, as Abigail prepared supper, she overheard her father and Liam talking on the porch. Why haven't you asked her yet, son? Thomas's voice was stronger now, though still bearing the rasp of his illness. Asked her what, sir? Liam replied, Don't play coy with me, Xavier. I see how you look at my daughter, and I'm not blind to how she lights up when you arrive. Abigail froze, the spoon in her hand dripping stew onto the floor. Sir, Liam's voice was respectful but firm, Your daughter is the finest woman I've met in all my travels. But I won't press where I'm not wanted. The debt between us, debt be damned, Thomas interrupted. Abigail would never allow herself to be bought, and you know it. If there's something between you two, it has nothing to do with $20 or carpentry work. There was a long silence before Liam spoke again. I've accepted the position of ranch manager at the Broken Arrow. Owners moving back east want someone to run things. It comes with good pay, a house of my own. Sounds like you're settling down, Thomas observed. Thinking about it, Liam admitted. Never saw the appeal before. Abigail's heart raced. She hadn't allowed herself to acknowledge the feelings growing inside her, how she found herself watching the trail for his approach, how their hands sometimes lingered when passing a tool or dish, how his rare smile made her feel lighter than air. The next day, Abigail rode into town for supplies. As she tied her horse outside the general store, she noticed a crowd gathered outside the saloon across the street. In the center stood Liam, facing a man she recognized as Jake Mercer, a troublemaker known for his quick temper and quicker draw. You made me look the fool in front of my boys, Mercer was saying, his voice carrying across the street. Nobody calls me a cheat, and walks away. I didn't call you a cheat, Liam replied calmly. I said the deck was marked. Whoever marked it is the cheat. Abigail's breath caught as Mercer's hand hovered near his gun. She had never seen Liam wear a sidearm, and today was no exception. Mr. Mercer, came the authoritative voice of Sheriff Mills as he pushed through the crowd. That's enough trouble for one day. Mercer spat on the ground near Liam's boots. This ain't over, Xavier. Not by a long shot. He stalked away, his companions following reluctantly. Liam nodded to the sheriff, then turned toward the general store. His eyes widened when he saw Abigail standing there, her face pale. Miss Foster, he said, crossing to her. You shouldn't have had to witness that. Are you all right? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper.
I've fine.
Mercer's all bluster. He glanced around, noting the curious onlookers. May I help you with your shopping? Inside the store, as Mr. Peterson gathered her order, Abigail turned to Liam. You weren't wearing a gun. Liam's mouth tightened. I don't carry one anymore. Anymore? She prompted when he didn't continue. Liam sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. I was a lawman once back in Kansas. Wore a badge for 3 years after the war. What happened? Abigail asked softly. I killed a man. He needed killing, was wanted for murder in 2 states. But afterward, he shook his head. I found I didn't have the stomach for it anymore. Came west, started working cattle. Abigail studied his face, seeing the pain he usually kept hidden. That's why you helped me, isn't it? Not just because of your sister, but because you're trying to balance some scale. Liam looked at her sharply. You're too perceptive for your own good, Abigail Foster. It was the first time he'd used her given name, and it sent a warm flush across her cheeks. Perhaps, she said with a small smile. Or perhaps you're not as mysterious as you think, Liam Xavier. Their eyes held for a long moment, until Mr. Peterson cleared his throat loudly. Your order's ready, Miss Foster. The ride back to the homestead was quiet, both lost in thought. When they arrived, Thomas was in his workshop, the sound of his saw a welcome reminder of returning normalcy. As Liam helped Abigail unload the supplies, their hands brushed, and this time, neither pulled away immediately. Abigail looked up to find Liam watching her, his blue eyes intense. Abigail, he began, rider's coming. Thomas called from the workshop. 3 men on horseback approached the homestead. Abigail's stomach dropped when she recognized Jake Mercer in the lead, his face twisted in a malicious grin. Well, Mercer called as they reined in. Ain't this cozy? The cripple, his daughter, and the man who won't draw. Liam stepped forward, placing himself between the riders and Abigail. State your business and move on, Mercer. My business, Mercer sneered, dismounting, is settling scores. You embarrass me in town. Now I'm going to return the favor. Thomas Foster emerged from his workshop, a shotgun in his hands. This is private property, Mercer. You and your friends need to leave. Mercer laughed. Or what, old man? You'll cough on me? Liam's hands clenched into fists. Your quarrels with me. Let's take it elsewhere. No, Mercer grinned. I think I like it right here. He nodded to his companions, who dismounted as well. Way I hear it, you've been spending an awful lot of time with Miss Foster here. Makes a man wonder what's so special. Abigail felt a chill run down her spine at the way Mercer looked at her. That's enough. Liam's voice was dangerously quiet. Mount up and ride out, or there'll be consequences. Consequences? Mercer laughed again. From the man who won't wear a gun? I'm shaking in my boots. What happened next occurred so quickly that Abigail barely had time to register it. Mercer reached for his gun, but before he could clear leather, Liam moved with lightning speed. A knife appeared in his hand, thrown with such precision that it embedded itself in Mercer's shoulder. The gun fell from Mercer's nerveless fingers as he howled in pain. Liam was on him in an instant, driving him to the ground with a well-placed punch. The other two men started forward, but Thomas Foster's shotgun discouraged further action. Your boss picked this fight, Thomas said evenly. Now you boys are going to put him on his horse and ride out. And if I ever see any of you on my land again, I won't be so hospitable. As the chastened men departed, supporting a groaning Mercer between them, Abigail turned to Liam in shock. Where did you learn to throw a knife like that? Liam looked down at his hands. Army. Before I pinned on a badge. He glanced up at her. I didn't want to kill him. No, she said softly. I know you didn't. That evening, after Thomas had retired, Abigail and Liam sat on the porch, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. Sheriff stopped by while you were helping your father, Liam said. Mercer and his boys are leaving the territory. Seems Mercer was wanted in Wyoming anyway. Abigail nodded, relief washing through her. Good. After a moment, she added, you were going to say something earlier. Before they arrived, Liam turned to her, his face half in shadow. I was going to ask if you'd allow me to court you properly, Abigail Foster. Her heart skipped a beat. Court me? Yes. He reached for her hand tentatively. These past weeks, getting to know you, your father. I've found something here I wasn't looking for. And what's that? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. A reason to stay in one place. A future worth building. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. I know it hasn't been long, and I understand if you need time. Abigail leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, cutting off his words. The kiss was brief, sweet, and when she pulled back, Liam looked stunned. I don't need time, she said simply. I know my own mind, Liam Xavier. His smile then was like sunrise breaking over the mountains. By midsummer, Thomas Foster was well enough to begin work on the Broken Arrow bunkhouses. Abigail often accompanied him to the ranch, ostensibly to prepare meals for the workers, but mostly to spend time with Liam. They would walk in the evenings, talking of their pasts, their hopes, their dreams. Liam spoke of his time in the army, of the horrors of war, and of his brief career as a lawman. Abigail told him of her mother's death when she was 16, of taking over the household, of her abandoned dreams of becoming a teacher. You could still teach, Liam said one evening as they sat by the creek that ran through the ranch property. The town's growing. They'll need a school soon. Abigail smiled, tucking a strand of her long hair behind her ear. Perhaps. But for now, I'm content. Liam picked up her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. I want you to have everything you desire, Abigail. Everything. The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. I have what matters most, she said softly. When he kissed her then, It was with a passion that spoke of a future together, of promises yet to be made. The ranch manager's house was completed in early September. It was modest but well built, with 3 bedrooms, a spacious kitchen, and a wide porch that faced the distant mountains. Thomas Foster had overseen every detail of its construction, taking particular pride in the carved banister and mantelpiece. On a crisp September evening, Liam invited the Fosters to dinner at the finished house. Thomas begged off at the last minute, claiming fatigue, though the twinkle in his eye told Abigail he had other motives. The house was aglow with lamplight when Abigail arrived. Liam met her at the door, looking uncharacteristically nervous in a clean shirt and newly pressed trousers. "Welcome," he said, taking her hand and leading her inside. The table was set beautifully, with china Abigail had never seen before. "It was my mother's," Liam explained, noticing her admiring glance. "I sent for it from my sister when I decided to stay." The meal was simple but delicious: beef stew, fresh bread, and apple pie that Liam admitted sheepishly he'd purchased from the hotel restaurant. After dinner, he led her to the fireplace, where a small fire warded off the evening chill. "What do you think of the house?" he asked, his eyes searching hers. "It's beautiful," she said honestly. "You've made it a real home." "Not quite yet." He took a deep breath. "It needs something else to be a home." "What's that?" she asked, though her heart was already racing with anticipation. Liam knelt before her, taking her hands in his. "It needs you, Abigail. I need you." He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. "I love you. I think I've loved you since that day in the barber shop when you were willing to sacrifice something precious for someone you loved even more." Tears welled in Abigail's eyes as he opened the box to reveal a simple gold band set with a small diamond. "Abigail Foster, would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife?" "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Liam Xavier, I will marry you." As he slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, Abigail couldn't help but marvel at how her darkest day had led her to the brightest future she could imagine. They were married on a golden October afternoon, with the aspen trees shimmering yellow against the blue Colorado sky. The entire town turned out for the celebration, held on the grounds of the Broken Arrow Ranch. Even Dr. Elliot remarked that he'd never seen Thomas Foster looking so healthy and happy as when he walked his daughter down the aisle. Abigail wore her mother's wedding dress, lovingly altered to fit her slender frame. Her auburn hair, still long and lustrous, was adorned with wildflowers and fell in waves down her back. "Your beauty takes my breath away," Liam whispered as they shared their first dance as husband and wife. "And to think you once nearly cut off all that glorious hair." Abigail smiled up at him. "If I had, would you still have fallen in love with me?" "I would have fallen in love with you bald as an eagle," he said with such conviction that she laughed. "But I'm glad I stopped you all the same." "So am I," she said softly. "So am I." As winter settled over the Colorado Territory, the Xavier household grew warm with love and the promise of future generations. Thomas Foster moved into the 3rd bedroom of their home, his workshop relocated to an outbuilding on the ranch property. His health continued to improve, and soon he was known as the finest carpenter in the county once more. Abigail found unexpected fulfillment in her role as the ranch manager's wife. She started a small school for the children of the ranch hands, teaching reading and arithmetic 3 mornings a week. In the spring, she planted a garden that soon became the envy of the territory. And Liam, who had wandered for so long after the war, found peace in the life they built together. The nightmares that had once plagued him gradually faded, replaced by dreams of the future. When their first child, a daughter, was born the following summer, Liam held her with trembling hands, marveling at her tiny fingers and the wisp of auburn hair on her head. "She has your hair," he said in wonder. "Poor child." Abigail laughed softly from the bed. Let's hope she doesn't inherit my stubbornness as well. I hope she inherits everything from you, Liam said, placing the baby in her arms. Your courage, your kindness, your strength. As Abigail looked down at their daughter, then up at her husband, she thought of that desperate day in the barber shop. How close she had come to losing something precious, and how much more precious she had gained instead. What shall we name her? Liam asked, sitting beside them on the bed. Abigail thought for a moment. Hope, she said finally, because that's what you gave me when I needed it most. Liam's eyes glistened as he pressed a kiss to her forehead. Hope it is. In the years that followed, the Xavier family flourished. 2 more children joined Hope, a son named Thomas after his grandfather, and another daughter they called Faith. The Broken Arrow Ranch prospered under Liam's management, eventually becoming his own when the owner decided to sell rather than return from the East. And on quiet evenings, when the children were asleep and the house was still, Liam would sometimes run his fingers through Abigail's hair, still as long and beautiful as the day they met. Do you ever regret it? She asked him once. Spending $20 on a stranger's hair? Liam smiled, pulling her close. Best investment I ever made, he said. It bought me a lifetime of happiness. As they sat together on their porch, watching the sunset paint the Colorado mountains in shades of gold and purple, Abigail reflected on the strange twists of fate that had brought them to this moment. How a desperate act born of love for her father had led her to the love of her life. How a man's simple act of kindness had changed both their worlds forever. Your beauty is not for sale, he had told her that day. And in saving her beauty, he had revealed the true beauty of his own heart, a heart that now and forever belonged to her.